So I'm
I just
doing
stabbed
some
that dude
sample.
in the neck.
Yeah. Respect his neck.
Talk about necking.
Amen.
So this comes to us from I got a camera, so I'm artistic now.
Italy.
Yes.
Oh, I thought it was the
Sure.
other A word. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Not the A word.
the A word. So I'm autistic now.
Okay.
It's the there's that episode of Quantum Leap where he jumps into the body of a man with Down syndrome.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll do it whatsoever.
Oops.
Oh no, we're not gonna talk about that. Yeah,
Are we going down that rabbit hole? No?
We're not gonna go down
No,
this
the
comes
You're
from
doing
Quantum
good
Leap.
I got a camera now, so I'm artistic now.
Fair.
Which is
Oh,
Chuck Flowers.
that's the GIF, right? Of
What?
the Down syndrome kid.
Oh god.
What?
You haven't seen
I
that?
don't know.
All right.
No,
Get into
keep
it.
going. Keep going.
Oh, no. Anyway, so
Abort.
he's giving us the rest of our topics again for today. Again, Chuck Flowers, member of the Discord and friend on MFA. So he goes, what is the most interesting thing to happen in menswear recently? Well, let's talk about the positive stuff that we like. We'll talk about the negative stuff after that. So personally, if I start this off, I think that what's really cool is like the prominence of hype and skatewear into classic menswear now. I think that's
Oh my god, I got that.
oh, Jesus.
Okay.
Coronavirus.
Take a shot.
No, de los manos. I've seen that.
Oh,
The
No, Jason just thought it was really punk of you to say that first, so he got excited.
oh man. But yeah, I think what's really cool is the prominence of like hype skate culture, because again we talked about rowing blazers the last stream, which is really fun.
We did.
We did, and then like you got Noah clothing now, and even apart from that, you got like the rise of stuff like 18 East, which has kind of a skate vibe to it, a little bit of like an Asian influence in terms of the textiles and everything. You got all the dad caps that are coming back, but like less so. Well, I guess it's kind of a skate thing, right? Like a ball cap, but it's it's becoming.
I think ball caps are more a baseball thing, in my opinion.
Hello.
So, what subset of hat is the Surgeons? Like, what is
Too
it based
sporty.
on?
Where does it come from? I don't know. I think it's just that menswear kind of has this this idea of it's always lagging behind stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like in terms of like the great stuff, and it's there's a good thing by a good video or I forgot essay maybe from Simon Crompton, which says menswear is not immune to trends or like the trends in classic menswear, and we see that soft shoulders became a big thing, more prominent. We saw wide lapels, high waist, trousers, side tabs, whatever. And so, it's this idea that, classic menswear really is still a viable form of like regular people's fashion, which means that it is still influenced by whatever's happening in the mainstream. You've got like androgynous looks, you got like really minimalistic looks, like Samanamo. I think a lot of people are doing that, like t-shirts, like a white t-shirt with like a cream suit, stuff like that, right? Or black on black and everything. What about black on black crime?
Don't.
Oh boy.
But no. But at least in terms of this, I think that menswear has never really had like a hype culture based around it, right? It's all basically like about tailoring, right? You could commission whatever you want, before like the Armory and Drake's, you didn't really have a place that you were like waiting for a drop from. And I think Drake's paved the way for this idea of having like a menswear store that's kind of like going into a J. Crew, except it's with items that are really good, that are made really well, artisanal, and have the same ethos and design as the rest of classic menswear. So of course, going post that, obviously, having stuff like rowing blazers, Noah clothing is like, okay, how do we take these cool like double-breasted jackets, put a spin on it and make only a limited amount, right? It's that whole idea, that comes with it. Just like with watches, I'm sure all this will play more, but the fact that there are a lot of other when people look for new brands, collaborations with other like Hoding and everything, like there's a lot more of that happening that makes menswear more interesting now. Before, maybe like what were the brands you'd look at, like Canali or fucking what's that? What's the
Xenia.
Xenia, right? Like, yeah, you had that, but like again, like the amount of people who were into it was like like rich people for rich people's sake, and then there's also like the menswear side, right? But now you've got a lot more other brands that like, do collabs with the Rake and everything, which gives a sense of like that skate kind of culture to it, and I think that's not really a style thing, but I find that very interesting that's happening within menswear. It's becoming something more viable as a way for people to get into, and that's why we see a lot of regular people or a lot of like people at MFA like, oh, Drake's is interesting, right? And then of course when they drop like a terry cloth polo or something like that, it's like, oh, it's like a drop, right? You got to get it, you know. And the way that they wear this stuff, it's not traditional anymore, right? Like the rise of Brycelands, right? I mean, I don't think that that's particularly skate influence, but it's kind of punk influence, right? I mean, like
I mean,
Ethan
yeah, a
Newton's
little bit.
right?
I do wonder. Do any of them know how to skate? Okay.
What did
But
you
what's
ask?
really cool is that Bryson's is right across the street from a board shop, which I think is super cool.
So they have to.
They only skate across the street.
They only skate across the street. The gentleman
I mean,
across the street taught them how to skate.
Jason's a
Warm-up exercise.
he buys a lot of like rowing blazers, and I think that
Oh, I am a
He
hype
doesn't
beast for
even
row.
row, dude.
I don't even row.
Oh, this is so my stepmom sews. She knows how to sew. She is making a blanket for her sister using a bunch of 60s and 70s and 80s like collegiate athletic tees.
Oh, that's
Nice.
cool.
It is like so cool. It's like there's some from Princeton. There's like a Princeton ringer tee that's like sick.
Sweet.
I kind of tell her, it's like,
started,
hey man, if you sell these at like Rose Bowl, you'll make fucking bank.
Yeah.
I started to learn how to use a sewing machine today.
Oh yeah.
nice. Yeah, so
What can you say?
skaters. That's good for Kenji. I think Ethan is more of like the punk side of it. I mean, he loves wearing his old, band tees from like Metallica and stuff. Grateful Dead. And that's not inherently like a skate thing, right? But there's like, there's this new idea about taking influence from that kind of stuff, like taking influence from like your punk background, like just like fucking like using like raw hem jeans, right, in menswear, right? Like this idea of like vintage and everything, and the rise of vintage in contemporary classic menswear is a big thing that I'm definitely fully behind, right? It's you could say that it's Bryson's was on the forefront of that, at least in Broadway and Sons, lots of guys mixing in mill serp with regular tailoring, and that's what I think on like on the dapper side of classic menswear is what I find very interesting and cool to see as it moves on.
And here is the master bedroom.
But yeah, I mean that's something I can think of. What do you guys think what are you guys seeing in classic menswear right now that's like a new development that you're kind of into? Don't speak up at once.
That's from the Minecraft
What?
thing.
Well, I'm like super into like mixing, suiting with
Mm-hmm.
like super casual things. I constantly am wearing, or like I like to do, the really classic. I say classic, like I'm an asshole. Those like really classic fabrics, like navy chalk stripes and such. But wearing them with the Neapolitano inspired suits that Dave and I make, it super. It takes this chalk stripe, which is very Wall Street, and turns it into something that's cool and has nothing to do, no connotations of that other than the fabric, and that's really cool. I think a lot of people are doing that stuff too.
Yeah.
And I also like turning really loud fabrics into suits. Things like boating blazers, like just make it a whole suit. I think it's so cool.
That is pretty cool.
Right.
I mean,
and I don't mean to toot my punk rock thing, but like there's something to me that's so cool about like taking things that most people would wear as just like a blazer and just saying fuck it, do it a whole suit. Wear it with these chunky shoes. Like I have these lug-soled loafers from like Legions. Like wearing it with that and wearing the stupid baseball hat. Just to me, it's like really cool. You know, it doesn't come off
Mhm.
as like loud, like it's not like a Robert Graham shirt kind of bullshit, but it comes off as like more refined in a way because like I know what I'm doing. I know what I'm wearing is loud, but I'm not a dick.
Yeah.
So like
I
you know,
I
it's all
really.
soft, so it's like it ends up being
Oh,
cooler.
that's nice.
Yeah, Matt, what do you got?
What do you got?
I don't know what do you got in the pock. I don't know that I have anything like lately. Things that are happening. Just like as I've been growing, like collective experience, just looking back at things, like just like discovering, like me discovering Drake's and just like that first like fall, winter, like autumn, 2018 lookbook, where just like people dicking around in Italy with like mustard cord suits and like these fun knit, vibrant ties and just like more casual, chunkier shoes and all that stuff. And then you see like the behind the scenes where it's like you see people with barbers over in tailoring or M43s. And it's just like, oh, making this a lot more casual, a lot more approachable, and not just like showing up in a paletot and like wearing a fedora, and or like wearing a beanie, or a dad hat. And it's just like learning how to like when you do have to wear it, so it doesn't have to be like so stickler, or like in the tote bags and all that. So just like I don't think I really have anything lately. Just like holistically, just like taking a step back and looking at ways you could just taking the like we say the stuffiness out of it, or just making it a bit more approachable. I'm so happy I know all this stuff, and I constantly finding ways to like do it when I can. I obviously haven't been able to wear tailoring too much lately, but and a lot of my stuff is going to be online, so I don't know how that's going to affect when I do get to dress up, but we'll see. And it'll be fun. But I'm all for it. I like Tom Brown. I think I do enjoy it. Just his more because like he even part of his stuff he does do a lot of like quote unquote uniformity, but like and
Well,
likes
I mean,
gray a lot.
his stuff is all based on like schoolboy uniforms too.
But I recognize when I see someone in a Tom Brown, like when I see an actor's in an actor's studio and I see someone in like a navy blazer, I see in their tiny cuff, and by their wrist, I see the little red, white,
What the fuck is
blue
going on with my
tag.
head?
Uh-oh.
What?
Do you guys see this
What?
on stream? What's going on with my head? My face is
Wait,
too
what?
big.
Oh, you like
What's going on with my head?
You're like
I look like I'm a pinhead, man.
You're a pinhead. As Bill O'Reilly would
Wait,
say.
I bet it's
You need
supposed.
a
I
dead
bet
hat.
I'm supposed to have a hat on right now, but like the game didn't render the hat.
That's so good.
I look great though. This rocks.
You look great.
Oh wait, it's
This is
fixed.
awesome.
It's fixed.
Kyoto's saying it's brain damage from prison time.
Exactly.
Prison. Don't mess with you.
Oh,
I
Christ.
like
I
when
have,
prison
I have to
messes
look.
with me.
First
Tyler
off,
won. Amen.
yeah, Kiyoshi says he's fucking heavy with not wearing dress shirts and ties with a suit. Long sleeve polos, low house turtlenecks, heavy knit tees,
Yes.
tone on tone stuff. Yeah, definitely see that a lot more now. I think basically with the cool thing that what comes with with menswear is that you learn all like the hard rules and everything, but it's always fun when you think of a suit as just a jacket and trouser of matching fabric, and just thinking of it that way opens up so much for interpretation, right? Like, why not wear like a t-shirt with it, a fun spin on that, encapsulating the t-shirt area, like a turtleneck or something. So yeah, I definitely see that. I definitely do that a lot. It depends on the cut of the suit and everything, but it's
Thank you.
oh my. So what about you, Spencer? What's coming out of?
Well,
menswear
I mean,
now?
this is not like a new trend, but it's something that we were kind of talking about a couple minutes ago, and something that's been going on for a while. But the incorporating kind of like more eclectic items, like just more eclectic style, just being kind of promoted by bigger brands. So we talked about like how Rowing Blazers kind of brings like the streetwear business model to like classic menswear in a way that I think is very cool. Like you talk about Bryceland's making all these like these like luxury like workwear items and stuff, which you wouldn't see a couple of years, well, maybe not a couple of years ago, but a while back from established luxury brands like that.
Yeah. What about something that we talked about recently was the rise of the 70s?
Amen. Yeah. I mean, yeah,
That
you're
is
seeing that a lot, especially in the guys that kind of work at like shops like Drake's or J Muse or whatever, the kind of hip, cool. I'm not gonna say bad boys because I don't think they're bad boys, but the cool guys of the menswear scene.
yeah.
Yeah.
They are. There's definitely a lot of '70s influence there. Whether it's '70s like trad
Mhm.
or Ivy, to like like look at like Alex Petrovich. Alex Petrovich, really great style
What am I
inspiration,
supposed to do?
and he's always loved like the late '60s '70s kind of thing. That's what's super cool, and seeing it done in a way that is not super analogous of like disco Saturday Night Fever kind of thing makes it more palatable. We have a whole episode and long blog post about the '70s, and I think it's really worth a listen and a read through, because I think that probably to me is one of the most exciting things to happen in menswear, because
Mhm.
with the '70s you get a lot of stuff like we said, like you get like this kind of more fun take on Ivy. It's rugged, right? You get a sexier take on tailoring, which is where the whole idea of like wearing a t-shirt with a suit, wearing an open collar shirt, wearing the
This guy
fucking
getting his dick
collar.
sucked.
What?
Jesus.
This guy's
In the
getting
game.
his dick sucked in the
Right.
game.
Yeah.
Jesus
Nice,
Christ.
nice transition.
TOS, bro.
Let's add our sound effects.
Oh my god, I hate that. Like,
Have you guys seen the
like
video of the woman doing the BJ with the the what is it, the grapefruit?
yeah,
Yes,
Oh
of
yes.
course.
yeah.
Just
What
get
is that
those
about?
sounds in there.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Jesus. And I'm watching a delay. His
Okay. Yeah.
hand
Let's
go.
get back to the discussion. Enough with this
But yeah,
filth.
the '70s, gives you like a lot of cool leeway into kind of expanding on what tailoring is, and what the possibilities that happen within menswear. You know, um, and it's just really that to me again is the best part, because to me a lot of the ideas and inspiration I get come straight from that era, even if it is like secondhand, right? Like all these guys, like Bryce Lynn's or Alex Petkovich are taking it straight from the '70s, while I'm getting it through them.
Well, yeah, I think the '70s was a great time uh, for menswear because it showed that everything that you kind of were taught from before that about how to dress didn't matter,
Yeah,
and you could really, and a lot of you could attribute a lot of that, to kind of Ralph Lauren really rising to his prominence and his whole kind of non-care for the rules.
Non-care.
He's
Huh?
non-care.
Yeah,
We should straight to X non-care.
he didn't care for the rules that much,
Mm-hmm.
and then no one else did either during the '70s. So that's where you get those cool shirt and suit combos, and just there was a sense of, everything was different. Everyone was wearing
Mm-hmm.
something different
Right.
instead of the garbage
Like
before.
swill.
I'll say.
What about you, Aldous? What do you got thinking about what's coming out of menswear? I know that you're kind of a conservative dresser, I guess, compared to some of the rest of us.
Well, more relevant to this is I just generally lack knowledge with regards to trends. I have, in creating my uniform for myself, I have
Oh,
some
hey,
brands
Scott's
I like.
here. Thank you for joining, Scott.
Scotty D in the place to
That's
be.
Nice work.
Disregard swoon. Yep. Go ahead, Aldous.
Yeah, I've developed a few brands I like and I go back to all the time, so I'm just not knowledgeable about brands and trends. And as I said, you guys have covered most things already, I think. On a lesser level, though, with the return of '70s tailoring and a move away from the '60s influences that have been king these past few years, we're going to start seeing a return to wider fitting trousers, which is a godsend for me because, I mean, with certain slim fits, I couldn't even fit into them, let alone
Right.
learn to like them. So yeah, that's my little
Scott,
bit of
you're our
contribution, I guess.
pal. Of course you want a
Of
shout
course
out.
you do a shout out. Hey, we shout out everyone in here because this is not like I'm looking at recommended channels, and Chapo Trap House has 349 people. You've got like 5 active people in chat. Why not talk? Why not shout
Yeah.
out?
Yeah,
everybody?
exactly.
Why not talk to our audience?
Is
That's how you
hey,
build the channel.
by the way, Nico is who I think it is, right?
What the kitchen nightmares? Did anyone think of that, Nico?
I'm gonna hop into this real quick. I'm just gonna look at it and see. Yo, it's exactly what I think it is. Hey guys, I think it's funny. Chapo has 349, but Nico has got 2.2 thousand. And if you need to know why, don't leave this chat, but you can just open up Nico in another chat, another window.
Oh, is it Nico Lol from? Is it the OK Boomer girl?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
I clicked off earlier after the stream.
You did what after her stream?
Yeah, what did you do about it? Do you click off to her often, MJ?
I clicked back to you. Don't worry.
Oh, okay, got it.
But yeah. So what about things that we're not liking in menswear? I mean, I think that might be smaller just because, again, considering everyone that all the people that we're into
Toxic masculinity.
Oh, I really like chest rigs, by the way.
Yeah, well, for me, I think it would be the proliferation of visible branding on a lot of clothing. A lot of the hypebeast stuff is, again, I'm not too knowledgeable with regards to this.
Well, even with like hypebeast stuff, I mean, it's like people don't get excited over like Supreme BOGO tees or whatever. They get excited about like the weird collabs or whatever. The stuff where maybe the logo isn't as it's not at the center.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes, right. But
I mean, I guess we're talking about people who are like into streetwear in the same way that we are into menswear, versus people who go to a mall kiosk and get like a fake fucking antisocial social club hoodie.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
ACAB, baby. ACAB.
So yes, finish up my point. I guess the need to have visible branding is something I don't like, and it maybe not even be visible name branding, but like what Burberry's done recently with the Nova check that they had on the inside of their trench coat, and they're putting on the outside now, and that's the fabric they're using to actually make jackets from. It's visible branding like that, patently obvious, and intentionally flashy stuff like that. I don't like.
Please.
Yeah, I mean,
I get that.
I get it, right? Like, it's kind of fun, but like, I think at a certain point, the postmodernist, and I think if Jason has punk rock, I've got postmodernist if you're rude. But it's like that thing with like, it's like being ironic, right? It's like, yeah, I don't need a Drake's logo T-shirt, but if Drake's had like a fucking like a hydro flask, I kind of would love that.
I mean, we talked about the other night how I came around on the issue of like the Supreme like ashtrays or whatever. Yeah, where it's like, I originally was like, that's lame. Why would you spend your money on it? But I'm like, that's actually like, if I saw someone with a Supreme ashtray, I'd be like, oh, that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but
it's still annoying how cool people are that smoke.
I don't know. It's like if you could get one like for like obviously don't drop like $300 on it. But a lot of the stuff when Supreme, like their initial run isn't that expensive. At least from what I've seen. I haven't like looked much on the Supreme website, but I mean, yeah, it's it's whatever.
I think the visible branding thing is kind of interesting because it's kind of like you have to look at it as being like ironic, right? Like you just have to be like, this is fun. You can't think of like, I don't think anyone wears a Supreme T-shirt because it's like this is like the ultimate style. Like I gotta represent. I mean, sure, that might be a thing for like maybe more like Ralph Lauren, like you want to rep that. But like in terms of like streetwear, it's kind of like I got this fun thing, right? And it's like, it's kind of like why get a Rolex when you could get like a similar like what would be better for you?
A movement.
No, maybe not a swatch, but I guess my point with that one would be like, what would be better, a Rolex or a watch that looks just like a Rolex but that doesn't have the Rolex logo on it? There's that kind of like you want to own the logo, it's and at least in terms of watches, it's small, right? It's not like it's not super gaudy, but the fact is
depends what Rolex you get though. Go and chime in as
well,
watch.
Of course, yeah. I mean, it's like
there's a dial variation on the Day-Date where they'll just it's basically hypebeast. It's just Rolex.
Oh,
it's engraved on the dial itself.
It's like like if Rolex gave you like with every purchase of a Rolex, you got like a fucking like a pen, like a free pen with Rolex on it. It's like
you might actually.
That's exactly it. I mean, it's that idea of like capitalizing on that aspect of it and making it mainstream. Which again, sometimes it can be bad, sometimes it can be good. And I think that the thing with skatewear, at least the really good ones, again, rowing blazers, Noah clothing, stuff like that. They kind of skirt that line where sometimes it's too gaudy, but sometimes it's kind of sick, right? It's like pornography. You know it when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
You
you, Supreme
always
Court.
bring up that quote, don't we? I
It's
think
such a
Spencer
funny
brought it up last-
quote.
Yeah.
We gotta milk it. For
That's
all
one of the
it's worth,
regular go-to statements. In
No,
comparison to this
absolutely. I mean,
talk.
it's like it comes. You know, that's a
You know it when you see
very.
it.
That's a phrase that comes up a lot, or you know.
It really fits a lot of situations.
Pornography comes
Exactly.
up a lot in this quote.
Kiyoshi asks thoughts on the Palace X Polo collab.
Go pop the trunk.
Oh, I remember that. That's right. Okay, I'm gonna pull up a picture of it and put it in the thing.
Pull it up.
You know, it's kind of hard to kind of get in because it's kind of, you know, like I'm not a big fan of. Actually, I'm not sure if that's is this it. Yeah, like this seems too streetwear to me. Like I can't, like a windbreaker to me, I can't really wear it.
You're not a windhead.
No.
Okay.
But
Oh my god.
but this
Really cool though.
boy can get it.
great.
This click this one, boys. This is fucking awesome.
Oh yeah, I fuck with that.
Right? Yeah. So again, it's like
That's
fucking
cool.
pornography where like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird, but like, you know, like it's
Yeah,
always
no, that's
gonna
cool
be
as hell.
pieces. It's always gonna be pieces that are like super understated, right? Like
Huh.
maybe like a
You posted
Like-
horse, Ethan.
I put what?
You posted
You
horse.
Well, Scott, it's in the chat.
Bro, you posted horse.
Wait.
You're going to lose
Oh,
subscriber.
I did.
Why do you keep
but
telling
like-
me that I could skip cutscenes?
Like let's say this one, like
Okay.
like I don't know if the pants are
No
thing,
one's
but
gonna
like
bury
these loafers, kind of
What?
sick. Like I mean, I wouldn't wear them the way they're doing it there, but like that with like a tuxedo or like a all black like suit or something, I think that's kind of a flex move.
Oh
you
my
know?
god, yeah, fuck
Right?
me
It's,
up.
it's kind of sick. But then again, like maybe the windbreaker might be too much, right? Like that could be a little bit weirder. So
Yeah, I need
it's
to
a
know
it's
what
like
I
again
find
the proliferation of like street culture or streetwear with this kind of stuff. It's again sometimes it can be hit or miss, but you know I think some of the best stuff that I've seen with streetwear is when like one thing is like super weird, but the rest of it's kind of toned down and maybe even minimal. I think that always like screams out to me. Like I mean I'm not a big fan of like Jordans or like you know like high top sneakers, but like whenever I see it done with like kind of an androgynous outfit or something rather plain, it kind of makes me think, okay, I could actually pull that off, you know. So that's my thoughts on that.
On branding, though,
What's up?
not particularly well informed in this, so I'm probably biased in my view, but I get the impression that a lot of people get who are into that. So what you were describing about how people like it for the irony of it, that I can get behind, that I can understand. But I get the impression that there are lots of people in there who are just in it for the conspicuous consumption. And I'm thinking back to my upbringing in East Asia, where it wasn't even brands; it was just people wearing English on their shirts, just English phrases that make no sense on there.
Well,
Wait, keep calm and jump over the border.
I think
Like,
I
what
think once
kind of-
again it depends on who you're talking about, because there are, I mean there are suit guys who are just in it for conspicuous consumption.
And I don't like them either.
Yeah, exactly. But I
Yeah,
don't
so
know.
you can't really avoid that. Is what we're saying. You know?
That's not just like inherent to just streetwear. That's just like
No, I
and
didn't say it
generally,
was.
I mean, generally, when we talk about like streetwear guys, we're talking about guys who are deeper into it than the people.
So deep, put your ass to sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But
So
I mean,
I am
you know,
kind of this from a shadow angle, and I do see a lot of the people who, you know, the little kids with like 2 Rolexes on and like Supreme everything, who
Yeah.
are doing it in that case for the conspicuous consumption, and that I find to be quite distasteful.
Of
And
course,
I
yeah.
would, might be a hot take, but I would argue that yes, there are people who are doing that in the realm of the stuff we like, but it's less predictable. It's less, not obvious, but less. It would be less reasonable to assume that of people in our realm than it would be of someone who's decked out in all brand or Supreme. That just seems to be the likelihood that you are doing it for the conspicuous consumption seems to be high in that case. That's yes, I guess that's my perspective. But I do.
Well, I
understand
mean,
why
it's.
I'm
I don't
quite-
think
quite
it's like it's likelihood. It's like you can. It's like just based on it. What are they wearing? It. You know. I don't know. I think you can tell who's like into it just to show off, and who's into it because they like the style, based on how they put outfits together.
Yes, yes, you can, and I agree with that. It just seems when you have visible branding like that, it just seems
Yeah, I mean that's fair.
more indicative,
Yeah.
I should say, of that sort of mentality than anything else.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah. What else are we not liking in current menswear right now?
Um,
I don't know.
toxic masculinity.
Not being able to
Yeah, I think
wear it at the
That's
moment
that's
because
Northview, but it's good. Yeah,
we're locked
go on.
down.
yeah, I mean, again, I think in overall when we look at the stuff, it's not. Most of us are pretty accepting of a lot of things. I think when you look at most of the guys, like I think, like say even Simon Crompton, right? Like, even though he has a very, like he's not too extreme in the soft shoulder, he's also not too extreme in the high rise. He still regularly associates and features people who have non-traditional looks compared to him, and I think that is very indicative of what menswear is really like. I mean, some of the stuff that we don't like maybe might be more of like a mainstream fashion, which again maybe we're not as tapped into. I mean, even me, I'm not as tapped into like the regular market. If we were talking about terms of male fashion in general, I'm not the biggest fan of like e-boy looks in the sense, like I mean, even though I like to call myself like the menswear e-boy in certain
Right.
in certain captions on Instagram, like chains and stuff. Not really a big fan of that. I think, I mean, Spencer and I definitely like jewelry of some sort. Like I still wear rings from time to time, even though I never thought I would be into that, like jewelry and stuff like that. Um, but like e-boy outfits, I think go a little too hard, in terms of like kind of become. And plus, they're like a meme of themselves by now, you know. Uh, I don't like the Kevin Nguyen look, which maybe if none of you guys know, look up like how
No, dude.
The Asian fuckboy look of like like the Sherpa collar denim jacket
Oh
with
yes.
a dad cap and like a long line tee with like
It's like a
joggers or
it's like
whatever.
a ethnic basic MFA face. Is it
It
not?
is, but it definitely is. But like if we're talking about that, like that's something that's making the rounds, I guess. Oh shit, Kiyoshi doesn't like split toe, Norwegian split toes.
I'm kind of
Ooh,
with you there, but is that trend?
hot take, dude. I
I'm
mean,
gonna
Yeah,
jump. I'm gonna
that's a
jump. I'm
trend.
gonna jump in his camp. I don't
What
like
is
them
the
either.
Norwegian
it's
detail?
definitely a trend. It's definitely a trend. I think.
Okay,
Right.
so Kiyoshi, that Todd Snyder collab is flame. I'm looking through those photos now.
Me too.
Yeah,
Me
that
too. I'm
looks pretty
looking at that.
good.
It's fucking
Flame.
sick.
Did you guys know American Eagle owns Todd Snyder?
Really?
Do
I
that.
Yeah,
did not know that.
American Eagle.
Good
I
for
could.
Oh
them.
my
Yeah.
god.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking at
They,
the
Wait,
I
top.
guess
wasn't
they
that the
bought it.
Marlin collab with Todd Snyder? Or is that something else? The watch. I thought there was some sort of Todd Snyder collab with
Yes,
Timex.
they're doing
Go
collabs,
on.
and they have been, and they are doing collabs with Timex.
Okay.
Fucking
I remember that. Okay.
I'm gonna currently look at GQ and see what's some hot shit.
Because again, GQ they had that phase like a few years ago with the like kind of tips for the basic people, but now they are sort of more going towards the like like the
Honestly,
individual.
Well, the first article I found is 11 menswear moves to make in
right.
2020. 11 wild menswear moves to make.
Wild.
Yeah,
You know,
speaking of going extreme
11 ways to make your menswear wild.
in the West.
right. When I'm looking at like what's currently in the menswear, I mean, well, first off, let me just say the split toe stuff is super cool. I kind of want some. I don't know if I want to spend $800 more than $800 on a pair of shoes yet. But I definitely see the trend, to go back to. Maybe this whole thing can be like this whole hour or something, because I like the trend of chunky. That's definitely coming back. A lot of people are wearing para boots, not just men's, but like kind of skate inspired stuff. A lot of people wear like 18E stuff with like para boots and stuff like that. I see some Ivy done with para boots. I think so. That's kind of a big deal. So that idea of like the chunky shoe, as Jason like alluded to with the lug soles, I think is a trend that I like, and I like in spades. Right? I don't know if I could do like a complete lug sole, but like a para boot is fucking cool for that kind of thing. So if we're looking at what's popular on GQ right now, um, I think that based on what's happening with GQ, like these guys like Will Welsh, and that's the only name I can think of. But like these guys, I think are really interesting because a lot of like menswear kind of like GQ is kind of going through this kind of transition phase where they are looking at like what's happening at Pity and classic menswear, but they're also mixing in pop culture. And on this thing of like it's a June July issue article, it says the best summer gift for social distance sunbathing basically hot summer trends. What I'm looking at is interesting because it incorporates a lot of what we were already into, like in terms of like what we're getting from the menswear industry, or the tailors, enthusiasts, whatever. I'm gonna link it here in the chat. But like when I'm looking at this picture, like of all the PNGs of stuff, one of the things that jumped out to me is a terry cloth shirt, right?
Yeah.
And that is something that maybe like I did not see on like on GQ. I did not see it like worn by like rappers and rock musicians. I saw that being worn by guys like Ethan Newton and Tony Sylvester and all that kind of stuff, right?
And now me.
And here, when you see it, it's done with a very interesting spin, where it's incorporating that kind of like Louis Vuitton as like those silk shirts, right? Those silk designer shirts, but it has a terry cloth spin on it. That's interesting, and I think that that's kind of cool to see. Menswear, like the mainstream menswear GQ style of it, kind of taking inspiration, mixing in like rapper, skate style, whatever, high fashion, with the things that we've already been seeing. Even here, like we're seeing cleats come back, right? With like within skatewear, right? Like pleated Dickies or whatever. By the team, seeing bucket hats kind of come in. We saw that at Pity worn by like I guys coming back here. We're seeing like 70s inspired stuff coming in. And I think it's very interesting. I think that tie dye. Maybe I wouldn't be into that.
Tie dye.
Maybe I think I have to see like a very tasteful tie dye for me to get into it. But it's we're seeing a lot of a mix now, and I think that in the new guard of people, GQ is kind of bridging the gap between like classics and streetwear, even though maybe we might not agree with a lot of their directions and the advertorial and everything like that. But the more and more I get into the fashion industry and becoming one with my own style and also understanding others, GQ doesn't bother me that much in terms of the styles they put out there. Maybe they still bother me in terms of an avenue for editorials and advertisements, but yeah.
Kiyoshi says, "Can we get some takes on Burks?" I go back and forth. I have ugly fucking feet. I'll just start with my own take on it. Now I personally don't have the greatest feet, but I think generally like saying I'm not a huge fan of like wearing it out as your shoe. Like, I mean, it gets pretty, like right now where it's like fucking, 80s, it was in 90 degrees today. So, I mean, it gets like hot but as far, I feel like there are other shoe options, but if you're like at a beach or at like a pool or something, like obviously it makes sense to do that. But like, I just feel like there's so many better options than if you're a guy just wearing like Birks or sandals or flip flops. It's a pass for me, dog.
Yeah, I have a hot take, and that's I just fucking hate sandals as a whole. I just hate sandals. Maybe it's because I hate feet.
Yeah, I'm not. You're not
I'm
quite
the anti-foot fetish. I really hate them. I think they're disgusting.
Yeah,
I don't want to see them. So just wear.
Keep them covered.
I do want to pair mostly just to have something easy to like throw on if I need to leave the house.
From the Easy collection.
And also, I mean, it's like also I just kind of want that like Doc Sportello kind of look. He doesn't wear Birks, but I don't think I'd wear the sandals he wears in that movie. But I kind of want them.
Feet are weird double-breasted waistcoat. I'm deciding whether or not to tell a weird anecdote.
Need to see some good ones. That's all.
It could be a little TMI.
But again,
all right, let's get an MJ feet reveal.
Yeah,
that's you have to subscribe to a certain website first.
Okay. We'll get subs for MJ's feet.
To talk about sandals and everything, I have a pair of Birks. I initially liked them because again they're kind of like the sandal pair boot, right? They're very chunky, they kind of got this like clunky nature to them. I like them. I don't know if I like them on me. I've worn them a couple times for different fits, but based on like how my leg profile is, because I'm gonna have thick thighs and thick legs. I'm also a little bit shorter than the rest of the compatriots here. Maybe just compared to Spencer.
Okay.
But it's like something that I kind of noticed, like, well, it doesn't work as well for me as I want it to. There's also the issue of like my feet are small but kind of wide, so they don't really fit my Birkenstocks. I need that. Like, I think my Birkenstocks would work if I had the heel buckle, which I don't have that particular model. So it's you know, it sucks because I generally I like sandals. I want to wear them more. I think they're really practical when you're not doing anything. You're going to the fucking like to go to Target. You're gonna go to the beach, right? You need sandals. You can't really get away without wearing sandals. You know, if you're trying to live your regular life. I mean, yeah, that's a form of a sandal in my head. You know? And Kiyoshi linked here from Shimula, and I think Harachis are pretty cool. Like woven loafers, woven sandals, I think are pretty sick. Especially like the one that Tony Sylvester, like the Gladiator sandals, I think, or Jesus sandals. I think those are pretty cool. It might be a little bit too elegant for me, but you know, I like those ideas. I think that sandals are pretty cool, and you know, maybe we'll see more of that. I know they kind of come in and out in menswear and classic menswear. They haven't made like a full return, like a pair boot or something. But hey, we'll see what happens in the future, right? I mean, it's unfortunate that we don't get a pity this year because I think it'll be a fun stream and a fun podcast episode to do.
I think it's gonna be fucking nuts next year.
You know what we could do is we can put on our own virtual pity. That could be like
that sounds great.
We're doing that all the time. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Doing this like we just use the green screen from. It's like the same thing as like when Greg Turkington visited the Hobbit movies and one of the Oscar specials. Just have a big screen.
We'll do that.
Walk around pity. We have a gun.
We have the technology. Quick execs, we will not have a gun. But it'd be fun.
Yeah, disclaimer for any of the Twitch cops.
Yeah.
You know you're watching.
We don't want to get Dr. disrespected.
Yeah.
Now let's go stream in the bathroom.
Yeah.
No, dude. Yeah, let's get it done.
Let's do it. Get that D. Alright, so do we vote sandals in or out?
What do you?
We should do like a.
Wait,
those,
what are
videos.
Are we the sandal? Are we the sandal council?
We should do that like Queer Eye thing where they vote a thing in like heterosexual trends. Where it's like, oh, this is in, and then they all talk about it. We'll do that.
I mean, I saw a guy in the mall like wearing hype stuff and then Birkenstocks, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Boy, that's a good marriage.
Yeah, they're on what?
TikTok is the next pity. I agree.
As long as the e-girls are there, I'm not
I don't think
pity and e-girls don't cross over. I don't.
Yeah, there's no crossover.
I'm trying to make it happen, baby.
All right.
Make it happen, Captain.